Welcome back to the Just Say Something podcast. I'm Philip Clark, and I'm glad you're here today. Before we get started, I would love for you to like, follow, share, and comment on our podcast. They can be found on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, or basically everywhere. I want to talk to you about something that doesn't always make headlines and doesn't always show up dramatically, but it is one of the most powerful forces shaping the lives of young people right now. That something is loneliness. Not simply being alone, not needing space, not enjoying independence. I'm talking about feeling unseen, feeling unheard, feeling unknown. There's a real difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And that difference matters more than we sometimes realize. If we are serious about prevention, whether we are talking about substance misuse, mental health struggles, risky behaviors, or long term well being, then we must talk about connection because connection is prevention. Teenagers today are more digitally connected than any generation in history. They can text instantly, video chat at any hour, and scroll through updates from hundreds of people in seconds. On the surface, it looks like they are constantly surrounded by interaction. But digital interaction is not the same thing as emotional connection. A teenager can have hundreds of followers and still feel invisible. They can be in multiple group chats and feel excluded. They can sit in a classroom full of peers and feel like nobody truly knows who they are. Loneliness does not always look like isolation. Sometimes it looks like performance. It looks like smiling in pictures while struggling privately. It looks like staying busy so no one notices what is happening underneath. When young people feel disconnected, they are more susceptible to peer pressure, unhealthy relationships, substance experimentation, anxiety, and depression. Not because they are reckless or irresponsible, but because human beings are wired for belonging. When healthy belonging is missed, unhealthy substitutes begin to look appealing. If a teen does not feel connected at home, they may look for connection elsewhere. If they do not feel seen, they may seek attention in risky ways. If they feel alone with stress or sadness, they may look for something to numb those feelings. Substance use often is not about rebellion, it's about relief. And loneliness amplifies that search for relief. We also have to acknowledge the amount of pressure teens are under right now. Academic expectations start earlier and feel higher. Social media creates constant comparison. There is pressure to excel in sports, academics, leadership, and college preparation. There is very little downtime. Even when school ends, the notifications continue. Grades update in real life. Group chats run late into the night. News about global crises and social conflict reaches them instantly. All of that pressure can isolate. When teens feel like they must be impressive all the time, they stop feeling safe being honest. They begin to wonder whether admitting they are overwhelmed will disappoint someone. They worry that saying they are struggling will make them appear weak. So they curate their lives. They filter what they share. They present a version of themselves that seems unsuccessful or seems successful and stable, even when they are not always that way inside. The gap between who they are and who they present begins to widen, and that gap is lonely. So, what actually reduces loneliness? It's not more lectures. It's not tighter control. It's not reacting with panic when something uncomfortable comes up. Real connection happens when adults listen without immediately correcting or minimizing. It happens when parents ask open ended questions and wait for the answer. It happens when coaches value effort and character as much as performance. It happens when teachers notice the quiet student in the back of the room. It happens when mentors show up consistently, not just when there's a problem. Connection often sounds simple. It sounds like, I'm glad you told me. It sounds like, that makes sense. It sounds like, tell me more about that. It sounds like, you don't have to handle this alone. Teenagers do not need perfect parents, they need present ones. And there is something important. We cannot expect emotional openness from teens if we are modeling emotional distance ourselves. They notice when we are always on our phones. They notice when rest is treated like laziness. They notice when achievement is valued more than well being. They notice when stress is dismissed instead of acknowledged. Prevention starts with environment. If home feels emotionally safe, teens are less likely to look elsewhere for validation. If parents normalize struggle and talk honestly about pressure, teens are more likely to speak up early instead of waiting until things spiral. When connection is strong, experimentation becomes less attractive because belonging needs are already being met. Building connection does not require grand gestures. It often happens in small, consistent ways. Eating a meal together without devices. Talking during a car ride without turning it into a lecture. Going for a walk. Checking in after practice. Remembering something they mentioned earlier in the week and asking about it again. When you remember what they said, you sent a powerful message. You matter. I was listening. You are not invisible. That is prevention. Isolation is where distorted thinking grows. When a teen feels alone, thoughts like, I'm the only one who feels this way, or nobody would understand, begin to take root. In isolation, small problems can feel overwhelming. Connection interrupts that process. Even one stable, caring adult relationship significantly reduces the likelihood of risky behaviors. Research consistently supports that. One trusted adult can change a trajectory. If you are a parent listening and thinking you do not always get it right, that's okay. This is not about perfection, it is about availability. You do not have to solve every problem or have the perfect response. You just must stay engaged. Loneliness grows in silence. Connection grows in consistency. If you are an educator, coach, youth leader, or community member, your influence may be greater than you realize. The teen who lingers after practice, the student who seems withdrawn, or the one who jokes constantly might be looking for reassurance that someone sees them. A simple check in can make a significant difference. We are living in a time when teenagers are more visible than ever and yet often feel less known than ever. Prevention is not only about warning teens about what not to do, it is about giving them something stronger to hold on to. It is about belonging. It is about trust. It is about emotional safety. Loneliness is powerful, but connection is stronger. And connection is something each of us can offer. Thank you for listening to the Just Say Something podcast. If this episode resonates with you, I hope you will share it with a parent, educator, or mentor, because prevention does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like sitting down, asking a question, and staying long enough to hear the answer. Take care of yourselves, take care of the young people in your life, and remember, connection is prevention. We will see you next week, and until then, take care.